Okay, so now I'm recording. In this 13, we want to identify the amount borrowed, the annual interest rate, the number of payments per year, the loan term, and the payment amount. So that is part A. So I think what part A is basically telling you to do is pull out the variables, right? Figure out what the variables are in this equation. How many total payments does the loan require? What is the total amount paid over the full term of the loan? Of the total amount paid, what percentage is the principal and what percentage is the interest? All right, the amount borrowed, I think this is hopefully straightforward. Amount borrowed is going to be the 120K, right? So this is what they're talking about. Annual interest rate. And you can give 6%. I think I'm going to go ahead and convert it because when we plug it into a formula, we're going to use 0.06. The number of payments per year. So typically when we do something, it is going to be in monthly payments. So here, number of payments per year would be what, 12. The loan term is that other thing that they say there. That is a time factor, is going to be 15 years. And the payment amount, oh man, they already figured this out for you. This one's no fun. So it looks like they already plugged it into the formula and figured this number out for you. Are there any questions over why these numbers are those numbers? The amount borrowed is the amount that you borrowed there. APR is at 0.06. We're doing monthly payments of 1013 for 15 years. How many total payments does this loan require? So what's the total number of payments here? If I'm doing what, 12 payments per year and I'm doing it for 15 years, how do I figure that out?
Multiply 10 times 15?
I think I heard the right thing. It sounded a little bit like max headroom, but 12 by 15, it faded out a little bit there. That's a weird reference. Do y'all know who Max Headroom is? It's kind of a 90s thing.
That was like
I want to say it was MTV.
No, that was like a.
It was like a
cartoon, but what it was a virtual reality cartoon where the guy was like in some kind of wave pattern or something that's like
that's what it reminds me of when there's those digital skips in Zoom. Yeah. It sounds a lot like Max Headroom.
Yeah. Wasn't there like a
there's an Eminem there's an Eminem music video where he parodies him. I don't remember which one it is. What were you saying?
Wasn't there like some famous broadcast hijacking that?
Yeah, there was. I remember that. Yeah. yeah. Now that you say it, yeah, that did happen. Back to this example. Sorry, got a little tangent there. Of the total amount paid, what percentage is the principal and what percentage is interest? So how much did he pay total? So if there's 180 payments, and guess what? Our payments are 1013. How do we figure out the total paid? I do 180 payments of 1013. What is that going to be? I haven't done it yet. Times 13. 182340. Okay, so how do we find out what percentage is principal, what percentage is interest? How much of this is principal and how much of it is interest? I guess that's the question. This is total, right? Total payments.
Would it be the 6% as interest?
The 6% is the interest per year. So the overall interest when you get done with this thing will be different. The easy thing to answer here is what is the principal, right? I hope. What's my principal on this thing?
$120,000.
Yeah, so if the principal is 120,
120,000.
yeah. If this is my principal, then how much am I getting in interest? How do I figure that out? If this is my total payment, this is everything I paid for this loan, and this is my principal, then where's my interest at?
So is it 182 minus 120?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We're subtracting these two numbers. So when we pay a loan, what we're paying is we're paying back principal and we're paying back interest. So if I do 120,000, I get 62,340. And this is how much I had to pay in my interest. Okay, so they want to know percentage of interest, percentage of what? Principal. So we're going to do percent interest. What we're going to do is what? Interest out of the total. So we want to know out of the total, what does this account for, right? And then same thing with our principal, right? $40, what does that give me? 34.19%. And 2 through 40. And if I divide these two, this gives me 65.81%. Are there any questions about this guy? About how to do this first problem? Let me see. 13.
All right.
Is that what they said?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what they say in the back. Okay. Where are we on 15 now? 15 and 17. So 15 and 17, I think we're finally getting to use that formula now. Calculate the monthly payment, determine the total amount paid over the term of the loan. Of the total amount paid, what percentage is the principal and what percentage is for interest? So again, on this one, I think what they're trying to get on this problem is they didn't make us use like the formula, right? They're just giving us the payment. So now we're going to have to figure out what the payment is. But the sort of strategy behind this thing is that we look at the number of payments, we look at the number of years to get the total number of payments, right? So there's 180 total payments. If I want to know how much I paid all in all for this loan, what I'm doing is 180 payments at 1013 gives me this total for my loan. So I know my loan, I know how much principal, what I originally borrowed. So if I do the difference of these two, the rest of this, the change should be interest, right? So they're trying to get at this thing. We're going to use this sort of algorithm like again and again in this section. We're going to multiply these two things. This is going to happen over and over. So if you don't understand it, speak now, forever hold your peace, right? Okay.
6581.
If we want to find a percentage, if we want to know what percent interest is, we do the interest over the total amount. If we want to know what percent the principal was, we do the principal over the total amount. So that's just going back to what a percentage of something is, right? Okay, that was 13, 15.
Wait, aren't you going to do C?
We did C.
Oh, that's the
percentage.
Yeah, the interest. Okay, Jesus. Sometimes I have to. Okay, go ahead, Professor.
All right, so we want to calculate the total monthly payment. So we need that payment This is a different page. Am I knocking pages? I think I'm knocking pages out of here. I think this goes in here somewhere. Oh no, this is that one. Sorry. I got too many papers around. And then I drop some and then I get them mixed up. So this is my payment here. This is the formula that I want to use. So they're going to give me principal, an APR, an N, and a Y is what I'm going to look for. So my principal here, if I'm looking at 15, they say I want a student loan of 100,000, a fixed APR of 6% for 20 years. So the thing that they don't give me here is N. Oh yeah, they do. Shoot. They say it's monthly. Okay. So if they don't say it's monthly in general, we can kind of assume it's monthly. If we're talking about loans or loan repayments, we typically pay off things in a monthly sort of fashion, right? So the principal is 100K. My APR is 6%. So instead of 6, I want to write 12. Bottom looks kind of crazy, but I think we can still do it. 1 plus 0.06 over 12. The minus NY looks like minus 12 times the loan period of, what do they say, 20 years?
20 years, yeah.
And we close. All right, so I am hoping you can fill out this information from the information that they're giving you. If there's any questions, like slow me down, tell me about it. You don't understand why I'm plugging something in, let me know.
So,
but I don't really feel like if I'm being honest, maybe I mean I have a different perspective because I've been doing math all my life. But I don't feel like this is any substantially different from like the previous stuff we've been doing. There's a principal, there's an APR, an N, and there's a Y, right? We got to read the problem. We got to figure out what they're giving us for which variable. My P, my APR is this thing, and this is my Y, right? My N is monthly or 12 payments. So we want to figure out the payment. If I do 0.06 over 12, it gives me 0.005. So 100,000. 0.005 is the 0.06 over 12. 1 minus, 1 plus. So this is 1 plus. I'm going to skip that step and probably just jump to 1.005. And this is to the negative 12 times 20, which is going to be 240. So you do have to put the negative on here or you're going to get a different answer. So there, it's kind of weird to put negative exponents, but it's got it. All right, do 100K times 0.005. Ooh, it's going to give me 500 on top. If I do 1.005 and I raise that to the minus 240, it's going to give me something around 0.30209. And I have to subtract this from 1 still. So I guess going over order of operations, we can divide this and we can multiply this, right? We can do those. You could do this all in one step probably, but we're dividing and multiplying on top. So when we do fractions and things with a big fraction bar, right? You typically do the numerator separate from the denominator and then finish them up at the end, right? Do the division at the end. There's a sort of like understood grouping that happens in math, right? I'm hoping it's not lost on people. Like we do this separately from that usually. Okay, and then this, we have to make sure we have some sort of technology to do negative exponents. So 1.005 to the negative 240 should be giving you this. So again, I can't force you to do this on a calculator or whatever, but you're probably going to need to know it for your test, right? So if we take 1 and we subtract 0.30209, that thing that I got previously, I got 500 over something like 0.6979. Which should give me what, 716.43 is what I'm getting out of this thing. And what does this represent?
How much he pays a month?
Yep, that's the monthly payment right there. So if this is the monthly payment, what is the next thing asking? Total payment? Total amount paid over the term of the loan. So if this is his monthly payment, how do we figure out the total payment?
Times 12.
That would get for 1 year.
Yeah, times
42
Oh, times
times 12 and then times what else? I think someone said it.
20.
20, right? So this is monthly. This is what you do to convert it to the years. This is what you do because he's doing it over 20 years, right? Or you could do 716.43 times 240. Times 12 times, not gonna give me the right thing. Times 12 times 20 is gonna give me what? 171.9320.
Oh, you said we can do 71643 times 240?
Yeah, that would be the same thing, right?
Okay.
12 and 20. It's this number that you have previously, but not negative. That's another way. It repeats itself. And patterns when you do this for a couple of years on end.
Oh, yeah, I got the same answer. Okay.
So we should get 171,943.20. And now they're probably going to ask us something about what? Principal and interest, right? They're probably going to make us divide this up or something. I don't even know. Let's see. Of the total amount paid, what percentage is for principal and what percentage is interest? There you go. These problems become a little predictable after some amount of time usually. So we have 171.93, 943.20. Total amount paid. So how do I find out how much interest I paid? So they give principal is what, 100K?
Yeah.
So if I want to find how much interest, how do I find that out?
Divide it.
Woo! Not dividing. There is some division. There's division to find the percentage of. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're on the right page on that one. But I was talking about finding the interest. To find the interest, when we know the principal and the total, we subtract the two. And then someone came in and said that, and I didn't see who it was. But that's exactly how you do it. In order to find the percentage, we have to divide these, right? So if I want to find the principal's percentage, I take 100,000 and I divide it by my total, which is the 171,943.20. And then if I want to know the interest percentage, I'm taking this 71,943.20. 20, sorry. And dividing it by the total again, right? 4320. $58.2% is what this is going to be. So I know I'm doing like conversions. I'm doing 2 steps in one, right? So this is going to give you a decimal, and then I'm converting the decimal to a percentage. 161.943.2. And this one should be giving me what, 41.8%. Another way to check these, guess what? Those should add to 100, right? So if you're doing things correct, they might be 99.9 sometimes because you rounded or something. But things should be adding to 100%, right? Questions about this? If you got questions, now's the time. But if not, we will go on. I think these things are pretty much by the formula, and I'm not trying to dismiss them or say that there's not some difficulties in certain parts of it. For the most part, if you know how to plug things into the formula, if you know how to follow a formula, I think you'd be okay on this section, right? P equals my payment. All right, let me grab this. P equals my payment, PMT, sorry. Payment is equal to principal. 400,017. APR over N looks like 0.035 over 12. Doing the crazy minus 1 plus thing. I'm doing the same number by APR over 12. And I'm doing this to the negative N times the number of years. So pulling off from the problem, they're telling me 30 years on this one. Today, oh, it's 15, right? Yeah, okay. What is this giving? So I think I'm going to shortcut this a little bit. We've done a few of these. I'm getting 1166.6 repeating on top. This is 1 minus from doing 0.035 over 12. And I add 1 to that, and I go to the negative what? 1.0029167 or 16 repeating. 12 and 30 is going to give me what? Minus 360. Mm-hmm. So this gives me like 0.35 when I do this. When I subtract 1 from that 0.35, it's going to give me 0.6495, somewhere in that ballpark. So I should be ending up with something like 1166 and like that 6 repeating. And when I do the bottom, it should give me something like 0.649527. And when I divide those two things, it should be giving me what? 1796.18 if I round it up. So I know I'm doing like 2 steps at a time, probably. So hopefully you're checking along with your calculator. And so what does this represent? What does that represent?
Professor, I got 1796.15.
Did you round it somewhere, maybe? That's probably pretty close. It's 3 cents off.
All right.
So how do I figure out the total payment on this? So this is part A. This is my monthly payment. How do I figure out my total payment? It's this how many times?
Times 20. I mean times 360.
Times 12 times 20.
Times 12 times. Here we're going for 30 years.
30.
Yeah. That's
30.
it. Yeah. And so that's also where he's getting the 360 from, right? It's the same thing. If we do 1796 times 18.18 times 360 gives me what? 6462624. And what, 80 cents, something like that. And then the last step, I don't want to spend too much time because we've done this twice already, but they want us to know the percentages of that. We got the 646, what, 262480, 80. I can't even say numbers anymore, I don't think. But there we go. I want to do 400. I can't still principal anymore. Oh, that was the right L. That was the wrong L. Sorry. There's my principal. I want to do what? 246, 624, 80. And interest. I want to know what percentage this is. I want to know what percentage this is. We're dividing those things. So if I do the 400,000 over what? 646, 624, 80. I think I'm getting what, 61.9%. And I'm going to be really lazy and just do 100 minus 61.9. So if this is my principal, $38.1% would be my interest. Mm-hmm. Are there any questions over this? All right. You're either being awfully quiet and they're like a really, really good thing or a really, really bad thing. And I'm not
On the
sure.
numbers, like on the, it's 646624, right?
It's 646.624.80.
Okay, I'm just
It's that
making
number.
sure. Okay.
Yeah, I know I'm getting sloppier with writing it because I'm writing it over again. It's like hard. It's getting less
Yeah.
legible each time. Sorry.
Yeah.
For the -12, will it always be -12 on the equation?
Yeah. So on this equation, typically when we make loaner payments, our n is always going to be 12, and that negative is in the formula. So you always have to have a negative on your exponent.
Thank you.
Sure.
So on the interest, there was 38.1. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's it. That should be it.
Okay.
Right, 100. I didn't do the division. I just did 100 minus 61.9, so it might be different.
Oh.
But it shouldn't be 61.
Okay. All right.
Is that what you got?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Excellent.
1517, what are we on? 27. So choosing a personal loan, you need to borrow $15,000 for a car. You determine you can afford monthly payments of $325. The bank offers 3 choices: a 3-year loan, a 4-year loan, or a 5-year loan, and they all have different APRs.
Ah,
Which loan best meets your needs? Explain your reasoning.
Just saying, man, they just putting so much on it. Golly. Okay, so here we go.
Yeah, it's like the same thing kind of over and over again. Honestly. I'm being honest, but they want to make sure you can pick things out. So my principle here is going to be the same all the way through, but I'm going to just start with what 3-year. I'm going to try the 4-year, and then I'm going to go to the 5-year, right? So if I'm going to do the 3-year, the thing I really need to figure out to compare these is my payment, obviously, right? So I want to know what my payment's going to be on this. So start finding out my payment. Willie, you want to come over here and talk? Come on, dude. All right. 15,000. And I do APR over, and it's point.
This APR. Okay, this is a 3-year.
07 is for the 3-year, right? I got to figure out what my APR is. That's going to be the thing that changes each problem.
So we do 12.
I'll do the crazy 1 minus 1 plus thing that's in the formula. 1 minus 1 plus. I do my APR over N, and I go to the negative N times Y. So the Y here is the 3 years.
So that's 36. Is that 30? Oh, so was it 12 times 36? Or 3. Okay.
It should be a minus 36 when we multiply it.
Oh.
So I'm going to do this top all at once, 0.07 over 12, and then I want to multiply that by 15,000. The top is going to end up giving me what, 87.5 on top. So I divide and multiply those numbers. When I combine this thing, it's like 1.0583, and I have to raise this to the 36 and then subtract it from 1. So this I'm raising to minus 36. I'm doing 1 minus the answer. This is giving me like 0.811. And so when I subtract 1 from 0.811, I'm getting something like 0.1889. When I divide these two numbers, I should be getting a payment of $463.21. All right, so that's my 3-year loan, my 4-year loan.
And we got to do 4-year and 5-year.
And the 5-year, yep. So my principal is still the 15K. My APR is changing on this one. So my APR for the 4-year changes to 7.5. So this tells me 0.075 over 12. 1 minus 1 plus. And this is to the negative 12 times.
This is 12 negative times. You said, what is this one? 4?
Exactly. For the 4 years. And we're closing this thing off. 93.75 for the top, I believe. And do 0.075, let's divide it by 12. Let's add 1 to the minus, let's go ahead and 48. 1 minus. And I know I'm skipping quite a few steps, but we're doing the same thing like over and over.
I can't catch up with you, Professor, but go ahead, man. I got you. I'll catch you on the back. I got you. I'm still like getting the numbers. So I'm just like, okay, so I'm at 625 and then plus 1. I mean, then 48.
We divide this, we add 1, we raise it to the minus 48, which should give me 0.7415, something like that.
Yep.
And then I do 1 minus that, should give me 0.25.
0.2584.
Do 93.75 divided by that crazy number gives me 362.68. So I'm just doing the payments right off the bat. We might have to go look at total payments to compare these things in a
I
second.
got 362.80. So
Yeah, it's probably just rounding a little bit.
okay.
I didn't round on mine. I just used my calculator. So right away, if we're looking at this problem, it says that they can only afford $325 for a monthly payment. So right away, I don't think we can do the 3 year, right? That's 463. 4 years is going to be 362. All right. So the final one we got to do to compare is the 5 year. So if we want to do 5 years, I guess I can hold this up there. It should look very similar to this one, except they're changing around. We know 7% interest. Now this one is giving us a 8% interest. We know our N is still 12. We're gonna make payments every month. We know it's 1 minus 1 plus 0.8 over 12 minus 12. And now what number do I multiply this one by?
Oh, 5.
By the 5 for the 5 years. .08 over 12. And I multiply that by what, 15K? I should be getting 100 on top. So 1, 2, 3, what, minus 60. 1 minus 0.6712, and somewhere in that ballpark.
60. Negative 60 on the
Yeah, this is to the negative 60. So I do 0.08 over 12. I add 1 and I raise it to the minus 60 power. Will get me this number. And I'm doing 1 minus that, and then I'm taking 100 and dividing it by that number. So dividing 100 by 0.328, I should be getting something like 304.1, and rounding that up to 5 is where it rounds. They really make this easy on this one? We don't figure out total. This is not too easy because we had to do it 3 different times. Was this 27? Yeah, we can only afford the last one, right? If we got 325 that we can spend.
so
If we're looking at our payments, oh, that's not the paper. Here's the paper. So they said we only have 325 to spend. The only one we can really afford is the 5 year. This one's 460. This one's 360. So the 5 years is the only one that's affordable.
okay, so Professor, can you know the step after the 12 times 5? Can you do that? Can you get to that step right there where it says 60? I forget. I don't know what this number is. I keep getting 0.006666, and it's like.
So I do 0.08 over 12. I add 1. Yeah, so it's 1.00. Repeating, right?
Okay.
Round it to 0.667. And we do this to the minus 60, right?
Yeah, minus. So the 1 goes. So is it 0? Okay, so is it 0067 or?
Huh? Yeah, you can do that. So if I do it to 1.0067, if I round it to that and do it to the minus 60, it's going to give me what, 0.6698?
Yeah, hold on. It's gonna be 100.
It should still come out pretty close. Okay. So that is what, 17, 27, that was 27. 29 says what? Suppose that on January 1st, you have a balance of 10,000 in each of the following credit cards, which you want to pay off in the given amount of time. Assume that you make no additional charges on the card after January 1st. Calculate your monthly payments. When the card is paying off, how much will you have paid since January? What percentage of the total payments is for interest? So this is basically the same. I think these are the same three problems we've been doing. We want to know the payments for this thing. So the credit card is 18% and you want to pay off the balance in 1 year. So I'm still using my payment or my loan interest formula, right? So my payment is going to be on top. I do the principal. So my principal here is what? The 10,000 that we're taking or that we're owing. So we owe 10,000. My APR here is the next thing I'm looking for is this 0.18. I'm doing this over N, which is
12.
12. And I do the 1 minus 1 plus that's in the formula. So again, like I'm not expecting you to memorize these formulas, right? I'm going to give you all those formulas like you saw on that first page. This is the same thing, APR over N. Negative N, which is 12, times my Y here, which is what? What are they telling me? That might be a weird thing. How long are we going to have to pay this off?
Is it 1 year?
Yeah, that's what it says. We want to do it in 1 year. So we're probably going to get, just like guessing this thing, probably going to get a large payment, right? 0.18 divided by 12, and then what? Multiply that by 10,000
So this is. So
is giving me what? 150 on top. If I want to do 0.18 divided by 12, it gives me 0.15.
that's 150 on top, and that's let me see.
And now I got to raise that to what? The minus 12 and subtract 1 from it.
So 0.015 at the bottom. Okay, then this is 12. Okay.
So I'm getting somewhere in the ballpark of like 0.1636 on the bottom. If I take 150 and divide it by that, I'm getting 916 cents when I round it up.
36 is right. That divided by, so it's 900. Okay, got that. Okay. All right. And when the card is paid off.
Okay, so what is this telling me?
So the monthly payment is 916.80.
Okay, and what was the next thing say? Total payment. So if I make 916.80 and I'm making this how many times?
Since January 12 times, I guess.
That's exactly it. I'm only doing this 12 times, so it might seem weird, but there's only one number we really have to multiply here. You could do times 1, I guess, if you really, really wanted to, but it's not really going to do a whole lot. 11,001.60 is what I'm doing, right?
Yep, 11,116.
And this is a part B. I'm being horrible at labeling my problems probably, but part C says what percentage is interest? So how much of this is interest? That should be easy, hopefully, to figure out from that.
Yeah, that's 11 from 10.
Yeah, so we take away 10, that's gonna give me what, 1,001.60. So that's my interest, and if I want to do my interest out of my what, total? I should be dividing those two numbers, 1,001.6 divided by 11,001.6. What was that, give me 9 point? What was that?
So it's 160, right? Is that correct? 160?
1.60. Yep.
Okay.
It should be giving me somewhere around like 9.1% when I divide these two things. Okay, so that was 29.
What?
All right, so 35. Following table shows expenses and payments for 8 months of credit card account with initial balance of 300. Assume that the interest rate is 1.5% per month. And the interest for a given month is charged on the balance from the previous month. With the table after 8 months, what is the balance on the credit card? Comment on the effect of the interest in the initial balance in light of fact that for 7 of the 8 months expenses never exceeded payments. So it looks like they're making payments and they're also putting money onto the card. Is that what's happening?
Oh. Yeah. So charge for the previous month. So after 8 months, we got to find out what the balance is on the credit card. After we make payments on it for 8 months, is that correct?
It sounds like.
So is it totaling the payments of all the payments we made for 8 months?
Are they making a payment?
Sounds like what they're doing is they're doing interest on this, and then they're combining it with any new expenses that they incur to get the new balance. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they're setting this up, if I'm being honest. It's kind of weird.
What is the 18% APR from?
18% APRs is what it's on this card, so that's why it's 1.5 per month. So
Oh,
if we do 1.5%, and what I think they're doing is they're doing 1.5% of what, the 150? Should give me 225, right?
2.25.
1.5% of 269. What are they doing?
2.5, go back to 2.25. That's right.
Oh no, they're doing. I see what they're doing. They're okay. That's kind of annoying. They're doing 1.5% of your balance is what your interest is going to be. So it's not of the 150. It's of the 179.50 is what they're doing. Sorry.
Previous balance.
Yeah, and so that would be give you 269, I believe. I don't really like the way this table's set up, if I'm being really honest. So we have 269. We have 150. And we also have like 20. Oh, that's annoying. Because we have 29.5 difference there, and then we have 150, and then we have 2.69, I believe is how they're getting this next thing. Yep, 182. Okay. Yeah, it's weird. So they're paying this off, but they're still taking interest on it. So I guess it's still accruing interest even though they paid it off. It's the accrued interest before they paid it off. This is the way that went down, I guess. And now we have a new balance of 179.50. If we make a payment of 150, and this is how they're doing it, it's kind of annoying, but they're taking the 179 and we're taking 150. We still have 29.50 from our old account. accrued $150 more dollars. And we have 2.69 in interest from the previous amount that we had on our balance.
Okay. So 2.95, 29.5 plus what now?
150 that we got that's new.
Okay, so we're on the third month, or we're still on the second month?
We're still on the second month.
Okay, so
So I'm paying,
179.50.
yeah, I'm only paying 150 of this, so I still have 29.5 left.
Okay.
And so now I have 29.5, I have the 150, and I have the interest that I gotta add together to get to my new amount, which is 182.1.
269.
Okay.
Jesus.
Now we do this process all over again. We want to do what 1.5% of the previous thing that we have on our account, which is of 182.9.19. What should give me 273 this time around? Ooh, now they're doing something weird. Now they're overpaying, right?
Yes, above the one.
So
Right.
182.19, we subtract what, 400, we add 350. So we're subtracting this because we're making it as a payment. So we're starting with what, 182.19. We're subtracting the payments we're making. We're adding the expenses back. And then we also have to add the interest that we made, or that got accrued on there. Not made, but get charged, sorry. Other way around, you're getting charged that. So this should be what, 134.92? So we got this next line, we got it done. So then now the process is what? Start this all over again with this line right here. So we want to take interest on our previous balance. So we're doing 1.5% interest on the 134.92. This is going to give me what, 202?
202.
And so now I start this thing over again. I go 134.92. I take off my payments, which is 500. So I subtract 500. I add 450 and I add 2.02. So 134.92, subtract 500, add 450, add 2.02. Our new balance should be 86.94. All right. Now try to do the next line before I get to it. You should start where, like right here, 1.5% of that thing. 86.94. So this should be like a really repetitive sort of process, hopefully. I figure out the percentage. I take my previous amount. I subtract this. add this. So it's 186.94 plus $1.30. 188.24.
So that's 1.30 plus
Plus 100 plus that.
plus 100, right? Plus 86.
It's this minus this plus this plus this.
Okay, hold on for a
Now we
second.
do 1.5 of 188.24.
86.94
So now
plus
I'm getting
100.
282 in here. So now I do 188.24. I subtract what, 100. I add 100. So that's doing absolutely nothing. Plus 2.82, right? So I should get what, 191.06 in here right now. And now I take what, 1.5% of that thing? Ooh, 191.06. That gives me 2.87. I take 191.06. I subtract my payments, which is 200. I add my expenses, which is 150, and I add the 2.87 is going to give me 143.93. Now I start the process all over again. I want to do 1.5% of 143.93. That's going to give me 2.16 when I round that up. I get 143.93. I subtract the 100 and I add the 80 and I add the 216 in interest. And the final number I should get here is 126.09. Worm up in here. Okay. So 54, I would be coming back to 54. We're not there yet, but I had to throw it in there somewhere. 36. You have a total credit card debt of $4,000. You receive an offer to transfer this debt to a new card, introductory rate of 6%. And for 6 months, after that, the rate becomes 24%. What is monthly interest payment on $4,000 during the first 6 months? What is monthly interest payment on $4,000 after the first 6 months? So we're doing before and after on 6 months. Let me go check.
Okay.
So, back to the payment formula. With my principal is my principal. APR over N, so for the first 6 months, N is a 6% APR. 1 minus 1 plus. To the negative 12 times my total years. This might be a tricky thing, but if I go for 6 months, how many years is that?
Six months is half a year.
Yeah, so we do times a half or times 0.5. Okay. And so I'm going to do this right quick with 0.06 over 12 and multiply by 4,000. It's giving me 20. And the number on the bottom I should get is 0.06. I'm dividing this by 12. I'm adding 1. I'm doing this to the minus 6. When I do 12 times a half, it should give me a minus 6. And I subtract that from 1. 0.0294, somewhere in that ballpark. And when I do 20 divided by that number, it should be giving me 678.31. Oh, 38, sorry. Wait, was it the? No, this, I feel like it's wrong.
It is the 1,612.
Yeah, because we're not paying off this entire thing. This would be if you paid off this entire thing. Sorry, yeah, not thinking about that correctly. So we're doing this.
So
what is monthly interest on 4,000 during the first 6 months?
That's old.
Do they give us a total time? This one's a really weird worded problem. This one's an even, so they don't even tell us how to do it.
So I got 2. 4,000 times 0.0005 is 2. I don't understand. 6 divided by 12 gave me 0.0005 times 4,000 gave me 2. Just 2.
This should be loan payment, right? And we're doing. Yeah, I'm not sure it gives us like I'm a little bit confused about this one if I'm being honest, because I'm not sure it actually gives us enough information to solve that. It's like it's not. I'm not seeing it in this. If I'm not seeing it, it's like definitely too complicated for this class. If I'm being honest, it's like I don't know why. Like it's not super obvious like what my why is, right? Because it's not a half year. If I did this half year, right, and this is what I did, and I hope you understand what I did and maybe why it's wrong, and that's good enough for me for this problem. I don't know. But this would be if we took out 4,000 and we paid this over half a year and paid it all off, it would be this amount. That's not what they're saying here. So what they're saying, I don't know. Are they just doing because they're doing interest? I don't know if maybe they're just getting us to try to compare the 0.06 over 12 times the 4,000. Like how much would that interest?
Plus 1 would be 3. Then you take it away
versus 24 over 12 times 4,000. Maybe that's what they're trying to get at. Is that the interest amount on there? I'm not exactly sure about this one. I don't really like it. So we're about to skip over it. But if we were to compare these two things, this would be 20 versus what, 0.24 over 12 times what, 4,000.
So it'd be
versus
2 times 6, and to make it 12.
It would be 4 times as much, basically, right? Your interest payment.
Oh, I see. You put 2.0 instead of it says 2 point. You put 2.0. I got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna skip this one. I don't like 36. It is just like it is not nice. All this other stuff, I think it looks good. Compare the monthly payment, the total payment for the following loan options. You need a $400,000 loan. We have a 30-year with APR and a 15-year with that. So this is pretty straightforward. We're plugging in. We're finding 2 loan options. 41. Okay, so I will set these up right quick, I guess. Let's do them right quick. 37. But this is like no different than what we've been doing. So I'm probably going to keep going a little bit quicker and a little bit quicker. Over 12. 1 minus 1 plus.
Which number are you on? 37?
37, yeah. 12 times.
You skip all B, A, and B.
30. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
All right, here we go.
This is their suggested homework, so sometimes I don't agree with what they're doing. So
yeah, it was kind of difficult because I was trying to figure it out, and it wasn't coming right.
And this one is for 15 years. So this should be the setup that you plug things into, right? This is for my 30-year, for my 15-year. So I'm hoping you can figure out what numbers go where in these formulas. You plug it into the formula. I hope you can do order of operations correctly. I'm going to skip this one a little bit, but like option 1. So this option 1 says it is 2935.06. I'm like getting all jammed in here now, huh? $2935.06. If I do that by 12 by 30, does it give me the one that they give me? 105, 621. That's it. And so if that's my monthly, how do I get to the total payments that I'm making? What do I got to multiply by on this one?
This is 12.
By 12 and by what?
times 30.
Yeah, that's it. So we go by 12 by 30. I should get 105.6621 and 60 cents. All right. Okay, so when I do this one, I'm going to save a little bit of work and just like skip to the payment. But my payment on this one should be, which one is this? 3708.05. I don't feel like there's probably a lot of worth in me just doing the same thing over and over again, right? And getting this order of operations. Like, if after I do it about 5 times, if you can't find out, I don't know, come to me during office hours or something. And then I do this, I do it what, by 12 by 15 to get the total. My total here is what, 667,449. So which of these loans are you going for? Probably if you can do it, you're probably gonna go for this one, right? If you can afford it. But the payment is higher. So I mentioned this in the notes, but like if we get a longer term loan, it's typically a smaller payment. And it's typically larger interest. So there are sort of trade-offs when you do loans. All right, so we need to pick up pace.
Professor, on that option A, was that the monthly times 12 times 30?
Yep.
Okay, so I keep getting 1 million. Is that correct?
Yep.
Oh, I thought that was wrong.
All right, 41. Consider the following pairs of choices for 120K mortgage loan. Calculate the monthly payment and total closing costs for each. Explain which loan you would choose and why. So this one, they're making us do the same thing over and over again. Okay, so if we want to know what payment, 30 years, fixed, 4% closing cost of 120K and no points. Okay, so if I look at this choice one, we have done the payments over and over again. I'm going to do it right one more time. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to do 120. I'm doing what, 0.04 in this problem. I'm doing it over 12. I'm doing 1 minus, 1 plus. I'm doing 0.04 over 12. I'm raising this to the negative end, which is negative 12 times y here, which is a 30-year loan. I want to set this thing up to find my payment in here. This is how I'm setting it up to find the payment. I'm doing some PEMDAS and orders of operations, but I want to save a little bit of time, so I'm going to skip probably those steps and figure out this monthly payment is $572.90.
Okay. So, Professor, I just got one question. Under when we do the over 4 divided by 12, I get 0.0033 on like 3 definitely. So do I do 0.0034 or do I leave it at 0033?
Man, I'm trying to save a little bit of time and not go for order of operations on this. If you want, you can come talk to me after class about that. Okay. So I have my payment at $572.90. The other thing we haven't talked about is closing costs, right? So if I want to do closing costs, it says it's $1,200 and no points. So the closing cost of this one is just $1,200. I guess that one's not too hard. I was just hoping it said something with points. I guess choice 2 is the one with points that we got to talk about, right? Choice 2 says everything is the same thing. Except now I'm going to be so lazy I'm going to rewrite this. The only thing you change in here for number 2 is what? The 40% becomes 35%. That's the only difference or 3.5%. Sorry, not 35. That looks like the only difference that I see in these. So pretend like this thing is down here in my choice 2. All you should change is that thing to 0.035. It's just changing the interest rate. And if we change the interest rate, that's going to make it 538.85. Okay, so that's 538.35 for my payment. What else are they asking? Closing cost. So my closing costs on this guy are 1,202 points. And so for 2 points, what they mean is 2%. But they mean 2% of, guess what number they're talking about? It'll be of the loan amount. So our loan amount is the 120K. So what this looks like is that I'm getting 1,200 plus the 2,400. So this should give me what, 3,600 closing cost. So is it worth it? I guess is the question. This one was what, 2,400 more than this one in closing costs, right? But if we do what, 572, what, 90 minus what, 538.85? I think there's what, 34 cents difference. And if we go over the life of the loan, how much more is that? So I think we'll more than make up for it if we can afford the higher closing cost, right? Is what this example is trying to get at. Are there any questions about this one? I think we found what they asked, right? Calculate the monthly payment and total closing cost. Explain which loan you would choose and why. So again, that was like the thing I was saying. If we look at the difference between the 2 loans, we're paying $34 extra, right? With the other one. And if we do that for 12 months for 30 years, we're going to end up paying $12,000 extra in the difference in these 2 payments. Making sense? Any questions? Yes, no, maybe. Okay. All right, so what else do we have? We have, suppose you have a student loan. It's 30K, you have an APR 9%. 20 years, what are your required monthly payments? Okay. So would you like to pay the loan off in 10 years instead of 20? What monthly payments would you need? Compare the 2 amounts. So if we can pay it off in 10 years versus 20, guess what? It's going to be larger payment amounts, right? This is the same thing over and over again. I really like to get into the other section sometime today. And so no one's really asking questions about this. So if that's the case, I think I'm going to try to hurry over this a little bit. We want to do this for 20 years. What are my monthly payments? If I do 20 years, it looks like this. So I'm going to plug 20 in here. And then if I do it for 10 years, it's going to be the same formula with 10. And so what? This is 45. So this is what they're getting. This is kind of what I was saying is like if we do it what for 20 years versus 10 years. The 10 years is going to be more. So why would you want to take this loan versus maybe getting a 10-year loan? What's the purpose of getting like a 20-year loan and then paying off in 10 years versus getting a loan that's just 10 years? All right, so we'll have to get the other stuff.
I guess that's a credit score, or just you save $100.
Well, I would say like the strategy to doing that is that like if you get a 10-year loan, it might cost you like $350 instead or something like that, right? This is going to be more than taking a 10-year loan just by itself. To take a 20-year loan and then pay it off in 10 is probably going to cost you more. But the thing is, you can default on it, right? A little bit. Like we don't have to pay $380 on this loan. If we mess up a month and our expenses are off and we can't pay this amount, we can always pay at least $269.92 and we will be safe. So it's like a little bit of cushion there is what it does. So there are reasons why people might want to do this if they're not really certain if they're going to get money in the future, right? It might be better to take a long-term loan and pay it off shorter than getting a short-term loan. But we want to compare it. Go ahead and compare it. Compare the total amounts you'll pay over the loan term if you pay off the loan in 20 years versus 10 years. So what are we doing? We're doing $269.92 times 12 times 20, I believe is what we're doing, right? $262.92 times 12 times 20 gives me $64780.8. So we're talking about that number. We're talking about 380.03, and we're doing times 12 times 10 is giving me a 456.03.6. Here's the other thing: if you pay off your loan quicker, you will have to pay less on your interest overall, right? So if you do pay it off quicker, it is still cheaper overall than paying it off in the long term. Quicker you can pay it off, the better. And the other thing, the sooner you pay it off, right, the better. It makes more of an impact if you put more money into it towards the beginning than towards the end. 51 says, suppose you finally 3 student loans. We have 10K with APR 6.5, 15 years, 15 with APR 7 for 20, and 12 with APR 7.5 for 10 years. Woo, so calculate 3 more payments. Calculate the total of your monthly payments during the life of all 3 loans. A bank offers to consolidate your 3 loans into a single loan with APR 6.5 and a loan term of 15. What will your monthly payments be in that case? What will your total monthly payments be after 15 years? Discuss the pros and cons of accepting this loan consolidation. So this one, I think I'm going to make y'all do this one on your own, just to make sure y'all are getting this thing down. I need something to check. Y'all are being awfully quiet. But this one, I hope it should be straightforward. There are 3 different payments we have to find, and then we're just finding another 4th payment, right? So I think we might have to add these 3 amounts together to consolidate them, is what they're talking about. All right, fair enough. Does that sound fair enough? I think that sounds fair enough. Suppose you want to borrow 100K and you find a bank offering a 20-year loan term, or a 20-year term for a loan of the amount with a 6% APR. What is your monthly payment? Instead of making 12 payments per year, you save enough money to make a 13th payment each year, or the same amount as your regular monthly payment found in A. How long will it take to pay off the loan? Really? I don't want to do part B. That's annoying. All All right, so I'll figure out monthly payment, one more monthly payment, and I'll figure this out. So 100,000. We have an APR of 6. We have divided by 12. This is 1 minus 1 plus 0.06 over 12 to the minus n times y is minus 12 times the number of years, which is what, 20? So it looks like I'm getting 500 on top. I'm going 0.06 over 12. I'm going to add 1. I'm going to raise that to the minus 240. And I'm going to subtract 1 from that, divide that by 500. I should be getting 716.43. I'm getting something like 0.6979 on bottom. Instead of making 12 payments per year, you save enough to make 13th payment for the same amount. Okay, so I think what we have to do there is do the total amount of the loan, right? If we're doing 716.43 and we're doing that, what, by 12 by 20, we know that our total loan amount is going to be 171,943.20. That's kind of a weird thing to think about, huh? 716.43, and if we do that 13, we're making, if we're making this payment 13 times, we're making this much in a year, right? So how many years is it going to take if we're doing what, 9313.59 per year? What I'm hearing is that we're supposed to divide these amounts, but I might have that wrong in my head if I'm being honest. It's kind of a weird problem. This is what it's sounding like to me, is like how many years? And it should be giving me like 18.46 or something. So it should be taking me around 18 and a half or like 19 years, right? You could probably say 18 and a half years. They would probably be pretty happy with that guesstimate. All right. So the next thing, the last section is over taxes. Okay, so 19 says Antonio earned wages of 47,200, received 24 in interest from a savings account and contributed 35 to, is this my first one? There it is. 35 in a tax deferred retirement plan. He was entitled to a personal exemption of 40/50 and took the standard deduction. Did I erase my instructions off of this thing? They just not, maybe it cut out when I printed it. I don't know. I know it's got the instructions on here. Where are they at? I think this was the one that said what, fine, gross income, adjusted gross income. Do y'all have the, do I have the original? What does it ask for? Gross income, adjusted gross income, taxable income is what it wants to know. So the gross income, that's that nasty thing. That's all the things combined. So he's doing what, 47,200 in wages. He's taking in what, 24 from interest. And he contributed, so that's going to get taken away, but he's got 74,200 and 2,400. 47,200 plus what, 2,400 gives 4,9,600. That's his gross, his adjusted gross income is that thing, and we take away what? Adjustments. I think deferments come off of where? So going back and looking at this chart to remember, make sure I get it right. Right, so hopefully you have this thing in mind. You have your gross income, you're going to subtract adjustments, and then you're going to subtract the deductions and exemptions. So adjustments are like tax deferred savings accounts. So the tax deferred savings account that they give on here is the 3,500. We do 49,600. We do minus 3,500. This gives me 461. The other thing is taxable, right? So to find the taxable, I'm going to take the 46,100 and I'm going to subtract the exemptions and deductions. So he's got a personal exemption of 4050 and he's got a deduction of 6350. So I take 46,100, I subtract the 4050, and I subtract the 6350. That's going to give me 35,700. So this is his taxable income. So if we were to take this, this is the thing we'd be taking to the table. All right, so that's 19. And so there is maybe a little bit of vocabulary there to know which one you're talking about, gross versus adjusted gross versus taxable. Compute the gross, adjusted gross, and taxable of each of the following situations. So married filing jointly, their combined wages are 73,300. And then it's also asked whether we're going to itemize or take the standard deduction. So if we're looking at this, their combined wages are that. So if we want our gross income is the first thing. We take in everything that they're taking in. So wages are going in here. Earn 2,000 in rental property. So this is what they're taking in. They receive 1,650 in interest. They claimed 4 exemptions for themselves and 2 children. They contributed 3,240 to their tax deferred retirement plans, and their itemized deduction totaled 9,610. And this is we're going to go to table 4.9. And so, do we want to take the itemized deduction of 9,610? Or they're married filing jointly? We're going to look under that column and look at this blurry ass thing that says standard deduction of 12,000. So that's really blurry. But the standard deduction for married filing jointly is 12, and the standard deduction is 9. So which one are you going for, the 9 or the 12?
$12.
You still there?
12.
You're obviously going to go for the 12, right? All right, man. I mean, y'all don't have to respond to class. I don't know. Do y'all want me to continue to do homework? I don't have to. Is what I'm doing for y'all. So I don't know. It's weird when I don't get a response on something. It should be like 3-second question, man. Okay. If I want gross income, I'm adding all these 3 things together. Okay, let's look. Okay, so what do I do for my adjusted gross?
Subtract.
All right, so I gotta subtract what 3240 from their tax deferred retirement. So that's the adjustments is like your tax deferred sort of stuff. So 78,950 minus what 3240 is 757.10. And make sure it's syncing up with what 20. Oh, this is 28. This ain't gonna tell me. Okay. And then what else do I do? My final thing is my taxable. How do I get to my taxable? I'm taking my adjusted gross, which is 75,710, and I take off exemptions and deductions. So what it looks like is I have a standard deduction of 12,700 is what we said we're going to take off. And then the personal exemptions is they talk about they have themselves and 2 kids. So how many people do they have? How many people do they have on their exemptions? Like, because if you look at exemptions, it says per person, we're getting 40/50 per person in this one.
They have the 2 kids, right? Was?
Yeah. So 2 kids, is that all you can?
Like, 4.
4 total, right? We're doing this 4 times. We're subtracting this at 4 different times. So 75,710, and I'm going to subtract what 12,700. I'm going to subtract 4 times 40/50, or you can subtract 40/50 4 different times if you really wanted to. 46,810, I think is what I'm getting on this thing. All right, so that is that one. Taxable. I'm dropping off letters here. Okay. Questions about this? So basically, when we look at the deduction, we're just looking for the larger deduction. If they itemize it, we might have to add a few things together. If they don't give us the itemized total or whatever the heck it is, they might give you a bunch of items to add together. But we just look at the 2 amounts and we see which one's larger, basically, right? So Sebastian is in the 20% bracket and itemizes his deductions. How much was tax be reduced if he makes a $1,000 contribution to charity? And I kind of talked about this in the notes. If it happens like after you do your little tax table, you're going to get the full amount off, but this is happening to his itemized deduction. So this is definitely happening before we take it to the table. And so if it's happening before he takes it to the table, he doesn't get the full 1,000 off. How much of this 1,000 is he actually going to take off of his taxes? It's going to come off the largest bracket. So he's only getting this much of that off. So how much is he getting?
That's 20 divided.
We're going to end up multiplying this 1,000. Well,
Is it 28 times 12 or what? I mean, 28 times 1,000?
Yeah, we're doing 28% of the 1,000, right? We're only going to get like 28% of this thing off is what's going to end up happening. It's going to take off, what, $280 off his taxes? And so sometimes they made us find like the real cost or something like that. So if we wanted to find the real cost of a $1,000 donation for this guy, we could also do that, right? So I don't think that's what they're asking, but this would be like the real cost. It's like, well, he paid 1,000 in charity, but he actually got 280 back from it. So the real cost for him would be like 720. But this was the thing about like deductions versus, what was the other thing? Exempt tax credits. That's it. Dang it. So this is the deduction. You actually have to take the percentage of the highest tax bracket. That's the amount that you're getting off of that thing. Whereas a credit, you actually take off after you go to the table and solve your taxes. You're getting the full amount of a credit off. These are really, these are way better than these things, right? Is what they're trying to say. They're going to take off the full amount. Okay, so that was what 41. 43 says what? Consider the following choices between paying rent and making house payments, including the amount saved by taking the mortgage interest deduction. Determine whether the monthly rent is greater or less than the monthly house payment during the first year. In both cases, assume that you itemize deductions. Ooh. So we are assuming we itemize deductions and we are making house payments. Oh, 280. Okay. I know I'm probably going over time, but if you gotta go, I guess you gotta go. But I'm going to continue working on these. So consider the following choices between paying rent and making house payment. You are in the 33% bracket, and your apartment cost $1,600 per month. Your monthly mortgage payments would be $2,000, of which an average of what $1,800 per month would go toward interest during the first year. So what are they trying to say? They're trying to say that this is what a tax deduction, right? We can take a tax deduction for this interest payment. And if we use this as a deduction, how much of this deduction are we getting off? Like how much of it is it actually taking off our taxes? It's not taking off the full 1,800. It's going to take off how much?
200? 2,000?
1,600 a month.
Oh,
What are we doing?
oh no, 33%. No,
Yeah, that's it. Say it.
33%.
33% of this thing, right? We're doing 33% of this thing. It's going to come off after we take a 33% of it. After we do our brackets, remember our brackets, they have like the subtraction thing. This number is going to come off of inside of one of those brackets, right? It's not going to take off the full amount. It's only going to take off a fractional amount of 594. Okay. So we get to take this. This is a discount to the taxes, right? This is like our tax discount. And so if we're getting like a 594 tax discount, what is that saying about our mortgage? We're paying $2,000 in a mortgage per month, but we're actually taking off 594 out of that. So if we want to figure out how much our mortgage is really costing us, it's the $2,000 without the 594 in there, because we're getting that back. I think our mortgage is going to cost $1,406 mortgage. Real cost or whatever the heck they call that thing, right? So is my mortgage more or less than my apartment rental is the next question.
Less.
Yeah, they're going to be less than my apartment rental. So I think that's what they're wanting in here. It's cheaper to own a home, which is $1,406. That's exactly what they say, which is less than the $1,600. All right. What's the next one? 45. Maria is in the 33% bracket. Steve is in the 15% bracket. They each itemize their deductions and pay $10K in mortgage. Compare their true cost for mortgage interest. How does your answer change? If, like most people in the 15 bracket, Steve does not itemize. Okay, so real quick, if Maria does it, she's getting what? 33% of the 10,000 off, right? So what is that? 0.33 times 10,000 was what? 3300. And if Steve does it, he's getting what? 15% of 10,000 gives me 1,500 off. $10,000 mortgage true cost for the mortgage interest. It doesn't say how much their mortgage payment is, so that's a little bit tricky. I guess we just know that they get that much off. Is that what they're looking for? Oh, they're doing 10,000 minus that is what they're doing. 10,000, sorry. Minus what, 3,300 is gonna give me her true cost is 6,700, what true cost? And if I do 10,000, what minus the 15,000 is what gives me 8,500 true cost. So those are the true costs. And then the other thing they say is like, how does it affect it if Steve does not itemize his deduction? So if he doesn't itemize his deduction, guess what? He doesn't
get the money.
Yeah, he doesn't get this money benefit, right? So you actually have to like be paying enough in your mortgage or whatever to actually qualify or, you know, make enough to take off. You got to make more than the standard deduction, basically, right? It's got to tally up to be more. Okay, so we got a few more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we got 5 more, right? 53 says what? Calculate the total tax, FICA and income tax for each individual in the following pairs. Compare their overall rate. Pierre earned 120K in wages. Katrina earned 120K, all from dividends and long-term capital gains. Assume the individuals are single, then take the standard deduction, use tax rates in 4.9 and the special rates for dividends and capital gains given in the text. All right, so we want to do a Pierre has what, 120K. So the first thing we take off typically are what, adjustments. Are there any adjustments they're giving us? It doesn't look like there are any adjustments. We take off standard exemptions and deductions. So what is his exemption and deduction here? If he is single, is that what it's saying? We're doing $6,350 for the deduction and we're doing $4,050 for the exemption. $6,350 and we're doing $4,050. This is his gross income. So what we're finding, we're trying to find taxable at this point, I think. After we do this, we will have a taxable amount that we can do for Steve. Or sorry, Pierre now. 120, 123, and I'm subtracting 6,350, subtracting 4,050.
109,600.
I'm getting 109,600. I want to take this thing to the table and do that tax calculation. So this is his income tax. It is really blurry, but I'm looking at this table and I'm looking for the amount of 109,600. And so I'm looking along here. I'm going past 91,000, but it doesn't look like I'm going past this number. So this is the bracket that I should stop in. So if I look, I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 different brackets I'm writing about. So if I want to do this thing, I'm starting off with the 10% bracket. And the 10% is everything up to 93.25. So if you want to subtract this from 0, I guess you can. I do that just sort of like for the pattern, so to help you see it. The next thing is 15%. I'm doing that for everything from the 93.25 to the 37.950. So I'm writing these intervals sort of things, right? From 0 to 93.25, that gets the 10% treatment. From the 93.25 to the 37.950, all this money in the account's getting the 15% treatment. And so I should be writing 2 more intervals, 25% of, now we're going to 91,900 minus what, 90, ooh, no, 37, wrong number, 37,950 was where I left off previously. And the last interval is my 28% interval. And it's going up to what amount now? So this might be the tricky one. In the last interval, what amount do I go up to? What's the most I can tax?
The 9.3.
What's the largest amount that I can tax here? This is the amount that I want to tax, right? Is that making sense? I want to go up to this. I want to go up to the 109,600. That's the amount that he's making. I'm going to subtract. Is that what you're talking about? I'm going to subtract the 91,900 from this.
Yeah, sorry, my mic is being weird.
Yeah. So these intervals, these are the intervals that are on the chart themselves, basically, right? Up until this last number right here, where we go up to the amount that he's earning there. So this you should absolutely know how to do. So I don't know how to tell you nicely, but this is one of them things you might have to spend some time on. 932.5. This is what 37,950, and I subtract 93.25, and I multiply that by 0.15. So I am subtracting and then I'm multiplying. I'm doing maybe 2 steps at once. So hopefully I'm not doing too much. But I should be adding 4 amounts together, right? 109,600 minus 91,900. 0.28. I don't think we need to do FICA for him. I think FICA is for the other one, huh? 49.56 plus 134.87.5 plus what? 429.3.75 plus 932.5. Yeesh. I think we finally did it. 23,674.25, I think, is what I'm getting for his total taxes. Oh, they're gonna make us find FICA for him too. Okay, yeah, that's right. His FICA's for everyone. That's the other thing I was thinking.
Professor, what was 0.28? What was 109.600 minus what?
109,600 minus the 91,900 that's coming from the table.
Oh.
That's coming from your table. So it's like we're going from 0 to 93.25, 93.25 to 37.90.50. So these should be your margins here, right?
Right.
I'm going from the lower margin to the upper margin. And I'm taxing it at this rate. And so this is his income tax. Do they give us FICA on here? Does it say the FICA? I don't have the FICA off the top. It should be what, 7.5% or something? It's definitely in the notes.
Oh. Wow.
Let's see. Is it 0.1785 or something like that? I think that's what it is, right? 1.785%. That's what it looks like. So if I do 1.785% and I do that by what, 120? Oh, sorry, wrong number. 9180 was what his was. 120. 7.65% is what FICA is. Back solving it. So we still have to figure out FICA. They wanted us to do that. If we know 7.65% is FICA, and we know 7.65% of what we're doing is his 120K, just the gross income. .0765 of 120K is going to give me 9180. So this is his FICA tax. This is his income tax. The other thing that they were asking for is like what percentage this thing is. So if we want to know his what total tax, we're going to add these two things together. We're going to get what 32,854.25. And then we take the total tax and we're dividing that by his total income, which is 120K. And so what we should be getting is something like what 27.38%. So he's getting, taxed around 27%. And that's his gross, right? You're gonna get your total tax over your gross income gives you your tax rate. All right, so what's next? Did I answer everything they asked? I didn't ask about Katrina. Okay. So FICA comes if you are employed. I don't think they charge FICA on, yeah, so Katrina is not getting charged anything in FICA tax. And did total tax of what, 27.4? So she's not getting FICA, but she's getting it from what? Dividends and long-term gains. So that was the thing that was a bit different. Dividends and long-term gains. It's going to be 0% on the 10 and 15% brackets. So if we look here, it's 0 on these is what it says. And then it's 15% for everything higher except for the 39%. It's like 15 throughout here, and then it's 20% here. And I hope it's still the same in this book than it was when I wrote these notes. It should still be the same. So if we're doing Katerina, she's doing 120K. She is still single. It looks like we're just taking 15%. We're taking 0% on everything up to what, 37,950. So if you really wanted to write this, everything from 0 to what, 37,950, we're going to take 0. That's not going to be anything. So if you didn't want to write that, I wouldn't blame you. But here we have 15, here we have 15. We're going to start at 37,950. This looks like where we're starting. So maybe I should write it down here so I got a little more room. And I'm going to go up to what amount? I'm going to go up to her wage of 120. And so I do that, it's going to give me 820.50, and I'm multiplying by what? 0.15 is going to give me 123.07.50, I believe is what she's going to end up paying. And so they use kind of the same table, they just use a slightly different rate for these things, right? This is 15 all the way down. So I did talk about that in the notes. It's just a little bit different with finding income from investments and long-term dividends. Okay. 53 says Katerina's income tax should be. Oh, they're doing something different. That's whatever. I think it might have changed in the book.
Number, you're on 59 or you on
No, I'm on 53. 53, right?
53. Okay.
So I think they changed it, but that's fine. Is she doing single or substitute, or am I missing something here?
Yeah.
Offer dividends and long-term gains. So it might have changed like a little bit from what I have here. But it says 0, 15, and 20. They might have changed the rates. But I did it according to what I said in my notes. They might have changed it in their book since I've done it. But this is what you should get according to what I have in my notes, basically, right? All right. So, and then they want to know her total tax rate. That's what we're going to be 12307.5 over the 120K. I should be getting somewhere around 10.2526%. So it seems a lot cheaper than the other guys, right? So people that make their money through investing don't pay quite as much in their taxes, right? Okay, so you're single, have a taxable income of 18K, and you make monthly contributions of 400 to a tax-deferred savings plan. We want to calculate the change in your monthly take-home pay when you take each tax-deferred contribution. So if we're single and making 18K, what does that tell us? And we can kind of ignore these things I just put on here. What bracket are we falling into? So we're not going to go past the 10% bracket is what's happening. And if we make monthly contributions of 400 to a tax deferred savings plan, how much is this going to save us? Is it going to save us 400 or is it going to save us less? What's it going to save us? So if we're in the 10% bracket, it's not going to take off the full 400, right? Is what this is trying to say.
Right.
So we're only going to take off
10% of.
100 off $40. So what we're actually going to do. What they were trying to ask for in this question. Decreases by what? 340 rather than 400. Where are they getting that from? Am I doing something weird? I think they messed up in their notes. What the heck are they talking about? If it decreases by... Okay, I'm at a loss for what they're doing because I think they're wrong. It's going to decrease it by 360, right? I'm not... I don't know what else they could be doing. They're saying 340 in the book, and I don't know how the heck they're getting that. I think they crossed their numbers up. It's got to be the only way. It doesn't make any sense compared to that problem. Okay, so consider the following couples who are engaged to be married. Calculate their income in two ways. If they delay their marriage until next year, they can file it as single. If they marry, they can file a joint return. Assume that each person takes one exemption in the standard deduction. Use the tax rates in 4.9. Do the couples face a marriage penalty if they marry before the end of the year? So we want to see if these people can get married, whether they're going to save on their taxes or not. So again, if we want to do this, we can look at Gabby and Roberto separately. And if we do that, Gabby's got what, 96,400. It looks like they're taking standard exemptions and deductions. Is that what it says? Pretty sure it's what it says, 82,600. We're going to take away the exemptions and deductions for a single person from each of these, which is 6350, 4050, 6350, and 4050. So it looks like Gabby's got 8,600. It looks like what, 82,600 minus what, 6,350 minus 4050. Looks like Roberto is 7,200. Okay, and then we want to do their tax rates separately. So we have to find single taxes on what, 86, and we have to find single taxes on the 72. It looks like they're both falling into the 25% bracket if I'm looking on my table. So I should have 3 brackets here. So Gabby looks like I'm doing 10% on the first, what, 80, no, 93.25. I'm doing 15% on everything up to 37,950. And then I'm doing 25%. And this is my final bracket. I'm not going past this one. So it looks like 8,600 minus 37,950 was where I left off previously. So this is Gabby. I'm going to go ahead and write Roberto right underneath her, because I think if I have Gabby's up there, I can fill this out a lot quicker. Roberto's is going to look very similar, except for his last bracket, he's only going up to 72,200. I want to do this 1 times 9325 plus 0.15 times what, 37,950 minus 9325 plus 0.25 times what, 8,600,000 minus 37,950. This one is 172.38. 75. And Roberto's is same thing, except I'm going up to 72,200. 137,8875. So right away, that's like what, 30 and some change. If they do it like married filing jointly, they want to see if it's more or less married filing jointly. So now we're going to do the two people together instead of separately. So if we do them together, they're each making these two amounts. So if we add this all together, this is 96,400 and 82,600. Should be what, 179,000. So together they're making 179,000. We can take off deductions. So deductions for married filing jointly are going to be a little bit differently. They're 12,700. We have 2 people that can take off exemptions per person. So your exemption per person is always kind of the same. It is the same number. It doesn't really matter how you file. You always get the same amount per person. But your deduction's a bit different depending how you file. So 179,000, and we subtract what, 12,700. We subtract 2 times what, 4050. Should be giving me 158,200. All right. And so this is the taxable that I'm looking at to take to the table. Okay. And so now I'm looking at this thing. I want to take this to the table. I want to take 10%. And now my brackets are going to be different on the married filing jointly. I take 10% on the first 18K, 18,650 to be more specific. I'm taking 15%. And now I'm going to 75. You might want to look ahead of time. I'm going up to 158. I think I'm going to go into my 28% bracket on this table. 75,900 minus the 18,650. I'm doing what, 25% of everything up to 153,100. And I stopped off at 75,900 in the previous one. And my last interval should look like I'm going from 153,100, and I'm going up into the amount that they made up there, which is the 158,200. These are what my four sort of brackets should look like. Okay, with that said, I get 10% of 18,650. I should be able to add these four brackets, and I'm going to skip a little bit. This is what, 59. They say your total tax rate married should be 31,181. 31,181. And how does that compare to the thing previously? So I didn't add these together, but if I do add these two together, I get 17,238 and 13,788.75. 30. 13,788.75 gives me 31,027.5. Ooh, 27.5. And so is it better for them to file married, or just better for them to file separately is the question. So we're comparing what, 31,181 versus 31,027. This was single. And this is the married, right?
Can you bring the paper up, Professor?
It's just those two numbers that I added, right? These are the two numbers from the single. So if I add these two numbers and compare it to what I got when they did the married, you said move it up or move it down? Which one are you talking about? Like that?
No, up. Up. Yes. Thank you. Right there.
Yeah, that was the single work. So that's finding them single. You should get 31,027. If you find them together, you should get 31,181. So there is definitely a marriage penalty in this tax, right? Is what they're asking. So it's definitely better for them to not get married yet. Okay. We got two more problems, so let's do these. Consider people with adjusted gross income of less than 50K. What percentage of federal tax returns were filed by income group, and what percentage of total federal income taxes did this income group pay? So we're looking at this table. It says federal individual income tax data. It gives us percentage of federal income tax returns filed and percentage of total federal income tax paid. Less than 50K would be what? Everything here and above. So I think what we're doing is we're just adding those three numbers, 17.6 and what, 20.4 and 24.3. It sounds like what percentage of federal tax returns are filed is 62.3. And what percentage did they pay? They pay 0.1 plus 1.4 plus 4.1, or 5.6%. So we're adding these three up, we're adding those three up. Consider people with adjusted gross incomes of more than 250K. What percent of federal tax returns were filed by this income group? So more than 250. that what they're asking? This is the 2.7 and it's 51.6, right? And so what is their next question? Regardless of your personal beliefs, use your answers from A and B to write a one-paragraph argument claiming that the distribution of income taxes is unfair to the rich. Regardless of your personal beliefs, write a one-paragraph argument complaining that the distribution of income taxes is unfair to the poor. So
You write a paragraph telling you that this is.
yeah, so it's like they're trying to make you make an argument and not necessarily whether you agree with the argument, but how would you make the argument is kind of what they're asking, right? And so what they're asking is, if I wanted to make this sound like it's unfair to the rich people, I can say, well, we have 2.7% of us paying 51% of the taxes, right? Versus you have 62% of the people paying 5.6. So this makes it sound like rich people are paying more, right? Because they're paying like what, 51% of your taxes? And so that's what they're trying to get at there. So if we just look at this tax, it looks like very few rich people are paying a lot of the tax, and a lot of poor people are not paying that much into taxes, right? Just off of the percentages, just looking at the percentages like that. The other thing is, like, if we wanted to show that this was actually unfair to the poor, what would we do? How would you make that argument? So I think this is again is like you're doing percentage of total federal income tax. So if you know the total federal income tax, let's assume there was $100 in income tax that everyone paid. So these people would be paying what, $51.06. You can make an argument that $51 when you're making 250K, right? Just assuming we had and it's a stupid number to assume, right? We're making $100 in all of our thing, right? So if we compare the 51.6 to the 250K versus comparing what? 5.6, I guess, right? Something that's what, 50,000. One of those things is not like the other, right? I think that one 51.6 divided by, this is like 0.12320064 right in here, right? And this one is like way bigger. And not everyone making that is making at least 50K, right? So yeah, maybe not. Yeah, that's not a good argument either. It's a bad. That may not be the best way to do it. There is 5.6. I think you would have to look at the relative amount to the total amount that they're paying, though, right? You'd have to consider their salary in it. This is 65. I could see what they're saying in the back too. They don't say anything. That you're on your own is what they said. Okay. Okay. Any questions about this? Because it makes sense.
On the test, are there gonna be like a lot of these long ones with like the tables, where it's just like redoing the same steps over again?
Probably not. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of this. And there's like one more problem. Consider people with AGI. I think I'm gonna let y'all just do this last problem. I didn't really look at it. Let me see. I would say not so much with the tables. I would say like stuff with the formulas. I'm trying to think if there's any tables. You have to do the tax table. I want you to be able to do a marginal tax rate like we were doing with those previously, right?
Uh-huh.
I want you to be able to look at a table and be able to do this sort of thing, right? I want you to get these margins.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
is one thing with the table that you have to do. All these other tables in the book, I don't think I use them on my test
Okay.
quiz. Usually the quiz gives you a pretty good idea what I'm expecting out of these chapters.
Yeah. And
It
the
does-
quiz gonna be on
Tuesday, yeah, it narrows it down a little bit, right? Because this book is kind of all over the place and covers a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
The quiz
Okay.
hopefully narrows it down a little bit.
Yeah.
What I expect. Because this is all book work and this is their work and like how they expect you to do things and do math and do their work, right? So what I expect is a little bit different from what the book and what the college expects, probably. If that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So consider people with a adjusted gross income of less than 100K. What percentage of federal tax returns are filed by that income group? Pertaining to justice fair, unfair. This sounds like a fair one to probably make you go do on your own, as we discussed in this unit. Working pay FICA estimates. I'm trying to make sure it sounds fair. Is this a factor? Yeah, this sounds fair. I'm getting lazy. I'm gonna make y'all finish this one on your own. I can't do all the work. My brain's getting tired.